Welcome back, everybody. It's Zach here, bringing you guys another fantasy football video. This one I'll be going over the starts and sits for Week 9, so I'll cover every single game this week. Just have two teams on bye, the Niners and the Steelers. We've got 15 games to go over. I will cover the first 7 in Part 1 of this video, and then the remaining 8 in Part 2. Just split it up a little bit, and don't make you guys watch like a 45-minute, hour-long video. Easier to split it up there. That way I don't have to record it all at once either. So yeah, a lot of fun games here. We've got a fun Thursday night game matchup here, and then really just a lot of good football this week, a lot of fun storylines, a lot of tough players to really gauge. We had a trade of Deontay Johnson to the Ravens. We'll talk about that when we talk about that game. Lots of tough decisions to make, and I'll just be here to help you out. So I'll just go player by player, tell you guys what I'm expecting, and then if you guys do end up with any specific start-sit questions, just let me know in the comments. I love helping you guys out there, and just a lot of fun. So yeah, that being said, let's just get into it here. Starting things off with a Thursday night game, we have the Texans going to New York to play the Jets. Believe it or not, the Jets are favored to win this game. I don't know if I buy that. The Texans are a much better team. The Jets have lost 5 in a row. The Jets feel like a team that could really just roll over here. But regardless of how the Lions see it going here, I think for both teams, the running backs need to be in play. Joe Mixon and Breece Hall absolutely need to be in lineups this week. For the Texans, Tank Dell is really the only other player that I'd look to start. He's like a low-end wide receiver 3 for me. Should see a ton of volume with Stephon Diggs out. He hasn't looked the same as he's looked previously, though. But with all this volume, before Nico Collins comes back, I think you have to play him. It's just don't expect a monster game. It's a tough secondary. Stroud hasn't played all that great lately, but I still think you're playing him. But again, I'd bench CJ Stroud. I'm not going to go with Dalton Schultz or any of that. Schultz is like a desperation streaming option if you need him. I just don't really want to. And then for the Jets, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, probably in your lineups, but I don't really love it. I think this could be like a sort of annoyingly low-scoring game. It's tough to predict which one of those two is going to end up being the guy. It's been Wilson the last couple of weeks, but it just feels like Adams is going to trend upwards over the next several weeks. It's just tough. I think you're playing both of them as like wide receiver 2s, but I just wouldn't expect either one of those guys to win you your week. And then Aaron Rodgers, I wouldn't go there. I'd be benching him this week. Next, we got the Saints at the Panthers. Wheels up here for Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave. You're playing both of those guys. Kamara is a top 5 running back this week, probably, and Olave is going to be a fringe top 10 wide receiver. You're playing both of them. I don't really want to start any other Saints, though. Like, Derek Carr is a desperation stream, but I don't want to go there coming off the injury. They could get up a lot in this game and just run the clock out as well, so that's concerning. I'm not going to go Juwan Johnson or Bub Memes or any of that. So it's going to be just Kamara and Olave. And then for the Panthers, Chuba is really the only other one I want to play. He's a low-end running back, too. We did have Jonathan Brooks practice in full this week, or so far, practice in full on Wednesday. So we could see Jonathan Brooks involved. I'm not playing him, but if he's active, it just lowers my confidence in Chuba even more here. And I don't want to play any other Panther. Like, Coker's looked fine. Xavier Legette's looked okay. Adam Thielen could be back this week. You're going to have Bryce Young under center, though. And the Saints defense, not bad. I just don't want to trust any of that. Maybe some of those guys are DFS start throws, but I'm not going there with any of them. And I think if you want to stream a defense here, the Saints are a really solid option if you need them. We got a fun game here between the Commanders and the Giants. For the Commanders, Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, and Brian Robinson all need to be in lineups. I wouldn't really even consider benching either one of those three. Austin Eckler and Zach Ertz, they're fringe starting options. Like Zach Ertz is the weekly break glass fringe top 10 tight end, and he'll probably catch 5 passes for 50 yards and be okay for you guys. You can play Ertz if you need to. And then Eckler has looked really good. It's just that Brad Robinson's the goal line back. He's not getting the kind of volume he used to be getting, but I still think you can flex Eckler if you need to, or play him as like a low-end RB2. I'd also want to be streaming the Commanders' defense this week. They've looked really good, and the Giants are certainly a great matchup there. For the Giants, Malik Neighbors is the only Giant I want to play. He's got a ton of volume there. You could look at Wan'Dale Robinson or Darius Slayton in deeper leagues, but I'd prefer to avoid that if I can. And then Tyrone Tracy, if he's active, I'd want to play him, but I'd sort of be surprised if he is. Left the game on Monday with a concussion. It's tough to clear the concussion protocol even on a normal length week, and they had a Monday night game, so they only have 6 days here. I wouldn't expect Tracy to be active, so makes Devin Singletary like a spot start. It's like a desperation RB2 if you need him. If Tyrone Tracy is out, I think I'd play Singletary over Eckler if that helps, but even that, like, it's not exciting, and you're hoping to get some points there and just not sink your team by playing him. Next up, we got the Dolphins at the Bills. Hopefully this one goes better than the last meeting. We had Tua lead the game with a concussion last time they played, so hopefully everyone can stay healthy here. For the Dolphins, Devon Achane and Tyreek Hill, they're both must-starts. You're playing those guys for sure. Jalen Waddle, a solid wide receiver 3 option. Obviously a ton of upside there. Didn't really put it together last week, but we know what the ceiling is for Waddle, so I think you're probably playing him, but I could see that there being some rosters out there that have better options. Raheem Mostert, he's a low-end running back play. You're hoping for a touchdown, but he could certainly score one this week. Could be a high-scoring game there, and the Bills have not been a good run defense so far this season. So Raheem Mostert's certainly an option. 2 low-end streaming option as well. In Buffalo, I don't love it. The weather should be okay, I believe, so I'm not super concerned there. But, I think you can maybe find a better streaming option if they're out there. For the Bills, two must starts here are Josh Allen and James Cook. Dalton Kincaid also probably a must start just because he's been involved enough at the tight end position. And the wide receiver room is really the question mark here. I think any of Amari Cooper, Keon Coleman, or Khalil Shakir can be started if you need to. Amari Cooper missed practice on Wednesday with a wrist injury. If I had to rank them to play this week, I would probably go Coleman, Shakir, and then Cooper. So kind of sucks if you have Cooper on your roster. I sort of feel like he just needs to get more acclimated in the offense. I don't panic with Cooper. He had a 35% snap share in his first week there, up to 50% last week. So assuming he's healthy, I bet his snap share will keep rising, but I want to see him play a lot of snaps before I trust him in my lineup. So I don't want to predict this to be the week that happens because he's dealing with this wrist injury. So I'd sit him one more week if I can, but I do think that eventually Amari Cooper is going to be a really solid asset for us down the stretch here. Next up, we got the Chargers at the Browns. For the Chargers, J.K. Dobbins probably in your lineups. He's just getting a ton of volume. The goal line back there still hasn't broken a long play in a while, so the efficiency's been down, but that's always still a possibility here for Dobbins. And with the volume he's getting, I still think you're playing him as a solid RB2. Ladd McConkey, a solid wide receiver 3. Really excited to see what he can do in the back half of the season. Getting more involved. The Chargers are passing the ball a lot more. I think that he is a guy that I'd be looking to start this week. Then Justin Herbert. They're passing the ball a lot more. He's averaging just under 290 passing yards a game the last 2 weeks. I think it's fair to consider Justin Herbert as back into that streaming category of quarterback. They don't have enough weapons to make him a reliable weekly starter, but in plus matchups, Herbert does belong in that conversation. And also just tough to completely ignore Will Dissly here. It's 2 straight weeks of him being really involved. If you're in a 16-team league or something really desperate at tight end, you could pick up and play Will Dissly and do a lot worse. So I think Will Dissly at least needs to be on our fantasy radar. If he puts together another week, he's kind of just officially a part of the offense. For the Browns, Cedric Tillman probably needs to be in lineups. They're the 2 receivers, Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore. You can flex both of them, especially in full PPR. They're going to throw the ball a ton in Cleveland, it seems like, with Winston. So a lot of volume for all those guys. Just, not as exciting as Cedric Tillman. David Njoku, he's a must start. You're playing him for sure. And then Jameis Winston, a decent streaming option as well. The Chargers' pass defense is mediocre, so you can take advantage of it. I think Winston's a low-end streaming option. I would play him over Herbert this week if that helps. And then I don't think I'm going to play any Browns running backs. It's great that Chubb's back and playing, but he just hasn't looked like himself. I'm going to need to see Chubb put together a good game probably before I trust him in my lineup at all. Next, we got probably the grossest game of the week between the Patriots and the Titans. For the Patriots, Ramondre Stevenson and Hunter Henry, probably the only players I'd be considering starting here. You don't have to play either one of them. If you want to bench every single Patriot, I think that's totally fine. We're probably going to see Jacoby Brissett start this game, and we saw what the offense was doing with him, so it's just not great. I think Ramondre is probably a low-end RB2. Hunter Henry is a fringe starting option at the tight end position, and then I'd look to bench everyone else. For the Titans, Tony Pollard and Calvin Ridley, really the only ones worth mentioning. Pollard should be in your lineups, I believe, this week. I'm starting him in a couple leagues. I have him. But, it's a good matchup against New England, but Tyjae Spears will be back, so it'll be nice to see what that snap share is. Pollard was dominating touches even before Spears got injured, so I'm not really worried about it, but just keep an eye on how that goes. And then Calvin Ridley, a solid wide receiver 3 this week. The volume has been really solid the last several weeks. He had 17 targets in the 2 weeks prior to last week, and I believe he had 14 targets last week, so averaging over 10 targets a game the last 3 weeks. He's going to have a ton of volume. It's going to be inefficient. Tough to predict every single week, but with that volume, this defense doesn't scare me, so I would be playing Calvin Ridley as a solid wide receiver 3 this week. Next up, we got the Cowboys at the Falcons. For the Cowboys, Dallas really needs to win this game. I think they're going to probably do their best to put it together. They are underdogs in this game, but I actually kind of believe they're going to bounce back in this one, which is weird. I don't normally like being on the side of the Cowboys in terms of them being an actually good football team. But regardless, Dak, Ferguson, and CD probably need to be in lineups here. Dak's the only maybe question mark who's a low-end quarterback 1 for me, but I'd still probably be starting all of those guys. Not going to play a Cowboy running back, though. It's just too gross. I don't want to trust any of that. For the Falcons, Kirk Cousins, he's a solid streaming option. This Cowboys defense has been absolutely putrid, so you can trust him there as a decent play. Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, all must-starts at this point. They're all really dominating things at their positions. You're playing those guys for sure. And then Darnell Mooney is a solid flex play as well, so you can certainly look at him as an option if you need him to. So that'll do it for the part 1 video of starts and sits for week 9. Up next, I'll be going over part 2, so I'll cover the final 8 games of the week, go over every single player that I didn't talk about here. If you guys end up with any specific questions, make sure you guys let me know in the comments. That way I can help you guys out and give you guys the best advice I can. Stay tuned for that video tomorrow. That way I'll go over any of the updates. I'll probably wait until right after the Thursday Night Football game to record it. That way you have as much information as possible. And then, of course, if you guys want to make sure you're here for the Sunday morning live stream, I go live 1 hour before the games kick off, so at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern time. I'll cover all the latest injury updates, answer your start-sit questions live, and get you guys ready to roll and get some wins in week 9. So make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the future content. If you made it this far to the video, please do give it a thumbs up. It just helps me out quite a bit, and appreciate you guys. I'll catch you with the next one. Peace. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.